Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pillar 4. So, this is where we're really going to go deep on leadership. All right. Leadership, balanced leadership. This is so important because people think leadership is just, masculine. And I don't mean that just in energy, okay, in terms of doing peak performance, being a high achiever. You also want the feminine energy, right? The divine feminine energy, which is very much in being receiving mode. Okay. Like the beautiful affirmation is I'm open to receiving wealth. I'm open to receiving health. I'm open to receiving healthy love, right? To receiving love. So by being open to receive, you also don't need to work so hard, right? You're not kind of going against the grain, you're not pushing the whole hustle grind culture. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't some truth to that, in terms of there is a certain, but not hustle and grind, but there is a certain amount of action that you do have to take. Okay. But there are many times when I have, stayed up really late and done like seemingly lots of work done. It's not that it was wrong work to do, but you need to keep your energy in check. And that is not just physical energy in terms of sleep and rest and rejuvenation. Okay, sleep isn't the only way that you can rest and rejuvenate. Also meditation. I'm talking about mental rejuvenation, right? Emotional. So emotional regulation in terms of how you feel, how you genuinely feel, that internal narrative that can just be so negative sometimes, and self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Okay, so it's not just about what do I think about you at all, or what does your spouse think about you or your kids, etc. Is what do you really think about you? Remember that. Okay, what do you really think about yourself? That is the most important opinion that you need to focus on. And this is leadership starts with self leadership. You are leading yourself. Okay. So as you are leading yourself, you are, number one, people can feel that energy when you are on a personal, transformative journey of growth yourself. They can feel that, like, alchemy within you. They can feel that energy of transcendence, right? Of evolution, of revolution. They can feel that, because you are speaking from experience. You are speaking from raw truth, that you are literally on this journey right here, right now. And I am committed to my journey in personal growth. A lot of people talk about professional growth, but really it's all about personal growth. Okay, so that's why in my programs we really talk about personal development, okay, spiritual development. We talk about life coaching, because yes, it's a business program, but it's a part of your life. Okay, so if your marriage is falling apart, or you're so worried about your kids, or maybe worried about having kids, right? And you've been having miscarriages or fertility issues or whatever it is, or there's some health issue, or there is some deep trauma that needs to be healed, that is going to show up in your business. Okay, so it's not actually that you need to change your strategy. Maybe your strategy of doing sales calls or live launches or webinars or whatever is totally fine, and you're doing it beautifully. But the intention behind that is coming from a place of fear, of lack, or undeservedness, or, well, I'm doing all of this and, like, is it going to work anyway? What's the point? That all of that energy needs to get cleared up. You need to clear that energy. Okay, and you need to go into trust and faith, not just in the strategy itself, but also trust and faith that it is the right strategy for you. Is twofold with belief. It's not just belief that it can happen, because you can have full well belief that somebody can make 7 figures in a year. Like, you're like, yeah, I've seen quite a few different examples. I can see that's possible. Some even, in a month or even a day. Like, I can see, right, what is their strategy? Okay, yeah, I could see how that could happen. Like, wow, it's amazing. But I can see how that, but you may not believe it's possible for you to do that. Okay, so really important that you work on both of those beliefs and really deeply heal. That's why we started off with healing. Deeply heal any trauma, emotional blocks, imposter syndrome, anything that makes you feel like, well, why would they want to come to me? Right? Well, why would they want to come to my program? If you're feeling like you're having to really over deliver, right? Like, I'm not saying for especially for an award-winning service, and I'm not saying that sometimes you have to go a little bit above and beyond. I do think that sometimes you have to do that, but not all the time, because otherwise I just don't think it's healthy boundaries. How is it scalable? How is it scalable with you actually having a life, right? The life that you want. Otherwise, isn't that why you started a business in the first place? Right? So that you could have more time for yourself, for your own well-being, for your family, your loved ones, whatever it is that your dream life is. That's why you started this, as well as helping to provide that journey for others too, right? So you need to make sure that the way in which you're doing it is in a balanced way, because probably your service is also giving them part of that strategy too. So you're testing it yourself, right? Quick drink. So this is really very much about belief. Okay. And when you have your belief is in check, it's amazing how much you can achieve. So there's an incredible story, 333, whereby I don't know that I'm actually going to post it into the group. Okay, the story of 333. I don't know if I've got it here. So I used to be a Bob Proctor coach. Amazing guy. So grateful to have trained under him, under his tutelage, live, with him, like incredible. And I really learned about the power of the mind, and much more so than the brain itself and neurology and everything else that I have learned about in terms of the mind that I've learned as a doctor. This was something completely different. So the power of the mind is so strong, and honestly, it is bigger than strategy. It is 98% about the power of your mind, which means, what does that mean? It means your belief in yourself, right? You being your biggest cheerleader, the belief in your chosen strategy. You can do any strategy and it will work if you believe in it. And then, of course, if you believe in it, what's going to happen? You're obviously going to take the action, right? Of course, there'll be an action piece of, okay, let's say, I don't know, webinars. You want to do webinars, okay, you've chosen that, then you obviously learn, how do I do a webinar? What's a webinar software I want to use? Okay, this one feels good, or is it that one? Or, there'll be 10 million articles about all these different webinar platforms that you can use, all these different software. And, people spend so much time looking at, oh, what about this one? Or what about that one? But this one's like this. If you just choose one that obviously that you think is good, the rest of the thought energy must be focused on any kind of healing and clearing of energy as to anything that's coming up that's triggering you, from stopping you from going live. Or it's not about live, but pressing the record button or doing the webinar, or kind of excuses coming up, maybe genuine things like, every time I try to schedule something's coming up, but I'm ready, I want to do it, but for some reason this came up. Okay, so actually what can happen is, as you elevate and you rise up the consciousness to that belief, that version of you that is on the frequency of where your goals, the version of you with your goals achieved, you are rising up. So remember, we talked about, you're dropping old mental habits, you're releasing old stories that no longer serve you. You are releasing also the pain, the frustration, and repressed emotion. So it's definitely a journey. But as you're also going up, you also get to a point where, sometimes you're wavering. Maybe you're just physically tired at that point in time. You're just physically tired. And, you've had like a bit of a, disagreement with your partner about something, or your kids just that morning decided not to listen to you about putting their shoes on or whatever. And, obviously it will take a lot more than that, but, you're also tired, and it's just kind of multiple factors. And then you want to do this, and for whatever reason, you're just, it's like you can feel your vibration drop a bit. And it's very easy to catch that. That's why self-awareness is so important, because you're aware of how you feel, and you're aware of, like, no, go back up there. Like, we're acknowledging how we feel, but we can also emotionally regulate very quickly. Okay, which is what we learn in our program, which is so important. Okay, this is what makes you a phoenix risen. You are rising up the frequency, the different levels of frequency, and you are phoenix risen. So then you want to just stay there. Okay, that doesn't mean you don't feel, doesn't mean you don't feel emotion. It just means that you can emotionally regulate very quickly, to get back to the frequency of feeling good, or at least feeling at peace in a challenging situation, so that you can carry on feeling aligned to what you're doing, and then the corresponding aligned, inspired action, right? doing it in spirit. It feels good, right? It feels good doing this webinar, like wearing, this outfit, which I just went for like a Diwali assembly with my kids in the morning. It feels good doing it now when I'm about to do pickup. My little ones, it feels good doing it on this platform, which allows me to live stream in some other ways, which works really well for me as like a really busy mom. I'm really grateful for it. So it all feels like this feels like a good strategy for me. It feels like it's almost like you feel like it's been made for you. Like, oh my gosh, thank you for whoever created, StreamYard and Canva and all these amazing different ways of doing things, and you're piecing together what serves you. So this is self leadership, okay? Because the divine masculine in an unhealthy, when it's too over, it's not balanced, basically, is goal getting to the point of pushing others down, right? You've seen people do that, right? They're sort of like, they feel they're in their head, they can, it's actually comes from scarcity mindset. They can only achieve something if they push you down, if they criticize you, like trolls, they send you bad energy, all of those things. They feel like it's a scarcity mindset, right? That they can only rise up if they push you down. Okay, so actually that's the downside of the divine masculine. Everything's balanced, right? Yin yang. So actually with the divine masculine energy, you want to focus on take the good, which is keep it balanced. So peak performance, high achievement, time being efficient, being a badass CEO, all of that beautiful energy. Okay. And then the energy of divine feminine, which is being open to receive, very compassionate, very loving, very kind, very beautiful. And this is how you receive. You're open to receive. You deserve it. This is for yourself. You love yourself. You think you're beautiful. You love your strategy. You think your strategy is beautiful. You love your clients. You think it's all amazing. But doing that in imbalanced way is submission, right? Of like, I will just be a doormat. You can walk all over me. Of narcissists taking advantage of you, being gaslit, being the nice girl or the nice guy that's always getting taken advantage of. Why? Because you might be an empath, especially if you're a service leader, and you need strong, healthy boundaries. What are the boundaries? That's the divine masculine, right? This is all energy, by the way. It's not male, female. It's energy, right? We all have this, regardless of what gender you identify with. So I really want you to write down and focus on where you feel you are with your energy, like more on the divine feminine or masculine, where you think you might need some balance. Do you think you need to focus more on boundaries, which is masculine? And don't worry too much if it is it masculine, is it feminine, but more on what you feel that you need as you're rising up the consciousness, boundaries and persistence, in terms of maybe not persistence with your strategy, but persistence with your energy levels of staying up there on that high frequency. Maybe you need to learn more about emotional regulation. Like, okay, we're going to come down. There's going to be stuff that irritates us or gets upset or challenging events, but how can I emotionally regulate that properly? No suppressing, really properly, really honoring and acknowledging my feelings. But so that equally, I don't want to be in this state all day long, all night long. So how can I get back up there and transmute this pain back into more of my personal power and more meaning into my path that I'm on? Like, it gives it more fuel and feels even more amazing that, yes, this feels so good. And I'm grateful to be channeling and creating in this way, right? This is self-leadership. So powerful, so important. So I want you to write down, what is it that you feel you are the leader in? Okay. For me, it's healing. Obviously, there are so many other incredible healing leaders in the world, leaders in healing. But for me, it's the holistic healing alongside leadership, especially the divine feminine masculine that I just talked about. So doing that in a balanced way, in a calm way, but still spiritual. So still conscious leadership, but in a balanced way. That means you're very self-aware. You know what you need at that point in time because you're very intuitive. We do a lot of deep cleansing and chakra healing and aura healing in my programs. So important. And then you are able to tune into which strategy and then execute it. Execution of strategies is kind of the easy bit, but you do need that. That's why we give very bespoke strategy sessions, really looking at your business, crafting all your offers, really looking at the exact strategy that we feel that will suit you according to your personality and where you are in your business and what's going on for you. And that will evolve as you will constantly evolve. What's the healing work, the energy work as we go along, intensive deep embodiment sessions as we go throughout the year. So, program, all of these things are so important. You do this for yourself. Okay. So I want you to write that down, divine masculine, divine feminine. And I want you to really think about any situation you're in right here, right now. Okay. And what is the outcome that you desire in your health, in your wealth, in your relationship? But I want you to write this in detail. And then I want you to really write down um, all the reasons why this will work, all the different possibilities using your mental faculty of imagination of different ideas to make this work. Like, for example, okay, well, I could go do a webinar, once a week. Like, I want to make 1 million in a year. Okay, I could do a webinar once a week using this platform. I just go live in my group. I could create a group like right here, right now. I could nail my offer, make a decision on the offer. Don't sit in limbo. That gives you bad energy. Make a decision, and I could just go all out with this and really then embody being the leader of this particular offer in for my clients, which means I'm doing it for myself. So I am the master. I'm developing mastery in this methodology, whatever you want to call it, right? So you're really going all out with it. You're really embodying it, because that's the leadership energy people can feel. I would strongly recommend you all write a book. Okay, become a published author. I'm a #1 best-selling author. It really helps to get your leadership expertise out there into the world, and to teach this in my program as well. But to really helps to people to see you. You want to get your word out there into the world, right? This is part of marketing, so it's so important for that. And to have like a YouTube or a podcast, this is for free, right? This is your free service, so that's part of giving back. And it's also another opportunity to, hey, if you want to work closer, if you want to work deeper, come join my group. Here's a link. If you want to work with me, here's a link to my flagship offer, right? Like the low entry level offer, the medium offer, and the high ticket offer. So it's all there. I didn't hide my prices or anything. I think you can do all of them. But I think it's just so important. Okay. So send you so much love and light. I'm going to be coming in later on, but work on that homework for now. Catch you later.